Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Thursday's Fireside Chat. Today we welcome Naomi Simson to the couch, or home office. Naomi Simson is known as one of Australia's most prominent entrepreneurs and business leaders. Following the growth of Red Balloon and the experience economy, Naomi co-founded the Big Red Group with business partner David Anderson in 2017, with the shared purpose to shift the way people experience life. Naomi is a passionate supporter of Australian business, a prolific blogger and business commentator, and appeared as the Red Shark in 4 seasons of Shark Tank Australia. Before founding Red Balloon, Naomi worked for big businesses including IBM, Apple, KPMG and Ansett Airlines, very topical at the moment, all of which influenced her passionate views on workplaces. A true business leader and influencer, please join me in welcoming Naomi to our Fireside Chat. A very warm welcome, Naomi.
It's delightful to be here, Anne. Nice to have some company.
Yeah, so true. So my question to you first up is, just tell us a little bit about what you wanted to be when you grew up and why.
When I was a child, I've always loved colour. And I used to love drawing and painting, and from the time I was a very little girl. And I would always be asking my mum, can you get the paints out? Can you get the paints out? And then when I was in high school, I would get lost in my paints completely. But my art teacher said to me, I can see you famous after you're dead and starving in a garret until then. So I think she was giving me the hint that my art was not going to be my career. And so I looked for a job that was creative, and marketing was in its infancy all that time ago, and I went to the University of Melbourne and ended up with a Bachelor of Economics. Now, ironically, while we're in ISO, I have got my paints out. I have always continued to paint. I've always been a Sunday painter. And for those who follow me on Instagram, you'll see that I pop up a few of my artworks from time to time. And on my bucket list is to have an exhibition, and always has been. And now I've had the time to produce the works that maybe I will finally get to have my exhibition after this.
Oh, what a wonderful outcome of ISO for you. So what sorts of things have you been painting?
Well, I love colour, and I love the way colours come together, and I love the Australian outback. I love the bush. I love the sea. So that it's very influenced by Australian colours and the essence, the spirit, the enthusiasm, and I get completely lost in my paints. When I start to paint, I have no idea what time it is. My husband will literally say, "Are you hungry?" And I say, "Oh, not really." He says, "You do know you've missed lunch and it's now dinner time." I go, "Oh, the sun's going down." So I get completely lost in my colours, and I think it's a really great thing to have a creative outlet. A lot of people judge themselves around, is it good, is it not good? But in that moment when I'm painting, I am just truly present. And it's an unusual thing when there is so much on my mind and so many other things. I think it's been a lovely counterbalance for me during this time.
Yeah, really good from a mental health perspective, huh?
Yeah.
So tell us about a pivotal moment in your life to what has affected and how you've got to where you are today.
Yes, when I did have a call.
Many, sorry.
Yes, well, exactly. Which one are we going to choose? But I suppose it was that transition from having a corporate career and being a corporate marketer to running my own show. And, I like to say I haven't had a job for 20 years. Actually, it's longer now. It's probably 25 years. But because I've been working for myself and determining my own destiny. In that time, following my passion, where I see my sense of purpose, how I'm contributing to community. When I worked in corporate life, which was, last century and a very long time ago, it was a very different world. And how businesses were run, there was no such thing as flexibility, let alone optionality. And it was very much a them and us, the workers and the bosses. In fact, there was a time when I was working at Ansett, and I didn't understand this, but the general manager at the time would walk through the airport and never look at any of his colleagues, his employees, in the eye. And I just couldn't understand it. It was like he was avoiding them.
Yeah, right.
And it was years and years later that I finally understood why he was doing that. I just thought he was, an introvert or not very friendly or whatever. But I understood years later that probably it was because there was 13 unions involved, and if he had a conversation with somebody, he didn't know if it would end up in a workplace agreement or a discussion. So really what stopped him was fear of doing the wrong thing, saying the wrong thing, and actually getting things off kilter. And so I did learn a lot from being in corporate life, of understanding the challenges that are faced by both managers and leaders. And management is different than leadership. Management is about nurturing the individual for the good of the cause, while the leader unites everybody to the cause and the calling. So, I learned so much. But that moment when I stopped becoming an employee, that is that my future was guaranteed, to creating my own future and leaving corporate life, was really the two halves of my life, I would say.
Yeah, fantastic. So, what's the best advice someone has ever given you, and what impact did it have on you, and what changes did you make because of it?
Well, I guess when I learned that you can keep pushing all you like, but it won't make the difference. And I think of who I was, especially as a young entrepreneur working from home. I was always on urgent speed. Everything was urgent. And when you run at that pace, A, others can't keep up, but B, is that you don't get to the important things. Important things take time, energy, and effort. Systems and processes, the ability to scale. You can't leap from one chaos, crisis, disaster to the next and just keep pushing through. You have to, as we say, a long-term strategy is not a series of short-term things pushed together. It's about how on earth am I going to get to there? And these are all of the small steps I need to make to get there. And I think that lesson, the other thing is just giving up blame. And, my personal motto has always been, if it's meant to be, it's up to me, which means I take responsibility for it. And so if a job isn't how I thought it was going to be, I will say, well, what was missing in the brief versus they're no good. And so that has allowed me to live with a certain sense of freedom. I must say, I am so challenged right now because my nature is to control, and I cannot be in control. And this has been given to me as the greatest lesson, which is horrendous and I'm struggling with, but I can't control.
No.
I don't know when we're going to be let out. I don't know when our suppliers will be back. And so I have to really call on these lessons of being able to think strategically, not just living in a world of urgency.
Yeah. And I think, that sort of leads into leadership. And, as you said, your businesses have been significantly impacted by COVID-19. So how are you leading the team at the moment when there is so much grey, and there are so many people out there who don't like grey, that would prefer to be in black and white and have the structure and understand exactly what is expected of them? How are you leading your team at the moment through this?
Well, I feel very fortunate. For a start, I'm not alone. And that is that David Anderson is our group CEO. He's my business partner, and he has a different set of strengths than I have. I'm very good at the vision and the words and the bringing everybody together. But actually right now we're talking about the fundamentals of business. We are talking about what is our defense strategy and what is our offense strategy. Really great CFO, Kevin, who has really got all of our finances by, and you've got to have that. It's almost like you need a wartime CEO. We're in a wartime, if you think about it, because we're fighting the unknown. And whilst that, I don't blend that with the urgency message that I just gave, but it's a different skill set, and the people around you just need to know that you have their best interests at heart and that they are safe, even when you have to make really, really hard decisions. So we have been very transparent. The level of communication that we've had with the team has stepped up in terms of daily rhythms, the whole company getting together for half an hour every week, and absolute transparency over this project will not go ahead now, this project will, and making sure that everybody knows their role in that. So transparency and that they know that we've got their best interests at heart. I am fearful, though, for small business owners. I worry about the mental health of leaders. I feel fortunate because I have a good, solid leadership team around me,
Yep.
but not all business owners do. Many are on their own or they're in a partnership, and often they can't speak to anybody because they go home. How was it today? Or they come out of their home. How was it today? Was it better today? And they feel so responsible for everybody around them. And that sense of isolation really concerns me in small businesses, mental health and business ownership, business owners, and their ability to lead through this when they're themselves feeling so at risk.
Yeah, really challenging times. You know, the workplace has changed, potentially faster than we expected given COVID-19. How do we navigate this new landscape? You know, so what will it potentially look like when we come out the other side? You know, I think the stats are there's about 5% of the workforce currently working from home. Well, pre-COVID we're working from home, and now, you know, it's probably closer to 50, 60%. What do you think that will look like when we come out the other end?
Look, you know, we get to have the future that we invent, and that we need to put some thinking behind that. So I was to host a leadership tour to Silicon Valley in March this year on the future of work. And we had all of these incredible content lined up. And one thing I can say is, well, the future of work happened. And now we need to make some really important decisions of who we are as a society and what role work plays. So one of the questions we had was about the gig economy. And the gig economy is the freelancers and the hired guns, let's say an Uber driver, who is actually technically a contractor rather than an employee. And how do we protect those people who have no power? You know, the Industrial Revolution all those years ago with the union movement to protect the interests of the individuals. So I think as a society, we need to say, what do we want work to look like? Because for many people, it suits them because they can work when they want to, when they don't want to work to. But if that's their dependency, are they effectively just shifted the way that we engage and how they're being paid, and they're actually acting like employees when they're really not being treated as that? So I think there's a whole question around the gig economy and how we protect and get the best of people. So is it flexibility that people want, or is it financial reward and protection? Then let's think about the commute and how much time we realise that we sit in tin cans, whatever shape and size that tin can is, whether it's a train. And I don't know about you, but I don't feel like I want any of my team members sitting in the train anymore.
Not at the moment.
Overloaded, you know, and being so close. Because, you know, we have got some benefits of this isolation for all diseases, from conjunctivitis to gastro to measles. Everything has gone down into influenza, colds. You know, we're just not getting sick because we've been. So I think we've learned something. So how can we change? And also, my poor dog, his legs have got shorter because I walk him about 8 times a day when I'm on the phone. But I see so many people out in the parks being fit, playing with their kids, you know, playing cricket, having a kick at a soccer ball. And so that commute time has become increasingly precious. Yep. So we're looking at how we could reconstruct, instead of bringing, you know, 100 employees into the city to all sit together, you know, how could we do it differently, where we bring together teams almost organically, but allow them to do deep work in other ways? We have absolutely flipped the rhythm of how we work. And I recommend that everybody looks at it.
Yeah, never a better time to do so. What about, just sort of feeding into that as well, how important will social and sustainability agendas be moving forward for employees as well as employers?
I believe even more so. Yep. So, you know, we have a belief at the Big Red Group that we do shift the way people experience life for the better, and that we have a role to play in our community to lead those who are in our care. So we have about 2,000 small businesses who have listed their experiences with Red Balloon, Adrenaline, Lime and Tonic, with our brands. But Red Balloon, everyone knows, and they know me from Red Balloon. So I have always been a marketer, and I just flipped the model whereby our job is to market, create a brand on behalf of 2,000 small businesses, and I just send them customers. And that's the little clip of the ticket that we take, which is effectively a marketing for delivering them a customer.
Yep.
This is what I know small businesses want, need, and will continue to need, which is I just need customers.
Yep.
Small businesses are struggling with all of the walled gardens, whether it be Facebook, Bing, or Google, because they're not digital marketing experts. So I do think for small business, there will be safety in numbers. But if you don't get your commercials right, then how can you get to a sustainability or a community agenda?
Mm-hmm.
You know, you've got to be able to feed the family first.
Mm-hmm.
It's really important in your chosen passion. And if I look at some of our supply partners, like literally they're world champions, and they're world championing balloonists or paddleboarders or surfers, but not necessarily the world's best business, marketers.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we do. So our job now is to lead this community is on a sustainability journey.
Mm-hmm.
Is how can we help them progress their conversation? You know, we're office-based workers. For us to get to a zero carbon footprint is not that hard.
Mm.
But what I would like to see for Australia, for our community, is a good life. And the good life is a life of inclusion. It's a life where, as I mentioned before, the gig economy, we don't want to leave people behind. We don't want people to be disadvantaged and not have education opportunities. So we want to see a life of inclusion, doesn't matter where they've come from, that we take and hear and listen and include people in the conversation. The second thing is that we are contributing to community. And if there's one thing we're learning out of this is people's aspirations will shift of what is important to them.
Correct.
And thirdly is about our contribution to the planet. And when people ask me about global warming and what do I think, and look, I don't know, I'm not a scientist. But what I do know is when I was born, the population on the planet was half what it is.
Yep.
And we definitely didn't have the pollution or the infrastructure that we have now. And if we keep going at that rate, it's not going to be good for anyone.
Yep.
So Paul Con was, we got somebody external to help us with our view to a sustainable future, because actually you often need somebody to hold the mirror up. You need an external, a different sort of opinion, because it's very easy for business owners, you know, especially when we're just putting one foot in front of the other, to just keep putting one foot in front of the other versus saying, actually, it's my job to make sure that Australia is a better place than when I started.
Yeah, fantastic. You know, there'll be a lot of people out there at the moment reflecting on, you know, their work, their life, their career. You know, how do we ensure that we are putting meaning into our work, discovering what our true passion is, and learning about sort of the positivity that goes with it and being persistent? You know, you talked a little bit about that at the very start. You've got to be persistent. How do people come out of this to actually be their best and potentially have a change in the direction that they were taking?
Have you set me up for a plug for my book?
You're welcome.
So, of course, if you explore through my book, Live What You Love, which you can buy online, you can work through that. But I think more than anything now is people are questioning where they spend their time and energy. We've been given this gift of time and reflection, a time that we didn't know. And whilst there's so much upset, some hurt, so much hurt, and I can hardly wait to get back into full speed ahead in case any government or health people are listening. Really, we are desperate to do great work. But also we want to make sure that we are purposeful in our work. And purposeful leadership comes from what we give, how we contribute, how we make the world a better place. And my purpose drives us every single day, and it hasn't changed. We shift the way people experience life. Now, one of the reasons that is not just a personal purpose, but for our business is obviously we sell experiences, but who we are in our community also shifts the way people experience life. Who I am as a speaker, a commentator in the media, I shift the way people experience life because I share what not just I've learned, but what I've learned from others and working with other businesses, such as the Shark Tank businesses. So if I look at those 4 elements, more than anything, while we've got time, is consider, where is your energy? Where is your passion? What drives you? What gives the spark of energy in your life? Observe and be curious about what your passion is. No change. Nothing gets better without sticking with it. My business partner says, if you don't have a plan, anywhere will get you there. So you do need a plan, but you need to stick with it just because it doesn't change. But I also like to point out the difference between being pig-headed and persistent. I think I'm more of the former, by the way. I'm quite pig-headed. But persistence is about listening to others, adjusting and moving on. And positivity, like, I am so challenged in this time. I am innately positive. I am. Every day I wake up and go, one day closer until we're out of here, But if I'm feeling this sad, I really, really worry about our community and how we can pick ourselves up. I'm worried about depression. I'm worried about our mental health, and especially how we are supporting our small business leaders. Yep. So positivity is about seeing where that could take us and allowing ourselves to dream when we even think we can't. And of course, purposefulness is about how we contribute to others. It's what we give, not what we get. Yeah. But anyway, there you go. Live what you love, by the way, and to explore all of those. Thanks, awesome. Anne.
That's okay. We'll go to a couple of questions in a minute, but in terms of, if you could give our community out there one piece of advice today, what would that be?
We are more resilient than we think we are. And what I've been incredibly proud of to be Australian during this time is to see how our leadership and how our community has come together. And I know people are fractious and worried and concerned, but this is for the good of the whole. And I've been particularly impressed as a leadership style of how the Prime Minister has his national conference. He's bringing his leaders close so that they're all on the one page. And that's what we need to do in business as well, is make sure, we can debate and challenge. There's different ways to move forward. But once we agree, then we agree and we move forward. So my advice is, have the debate. Let people have different ideas. But then once you agree, and just remember, your idea might not be the best idea. I can often be the loudest person in the room, which makes it difficult for me to kind of sit back. But really and the job of leader is to nurture the introverts, nurture the quiet people in your team to make sure we hear their opinion, especially on behalf of the customer. Okay. So I think we've all learned so much, and I do think there'll be a massive move to buy Australia, buy local, and to support Australian communities. We had the summer from hell. About 247 of our experiences we couldn't deliver over the summer because of bushfires. Yep. And then we had a whole lot of others who were impacted by smoke. We had 2 weeks where we had a campaign in market going, Explore Australia, and then of course we had to pull it, take the esky and take your esky back home again. And so I am very excited to come out and support our 2,000 small businesses, get out in the community as soon as we possibly can. And I think I won't be alone. In fact, I'm encouraging other marketers who might be contact us. Maybe we can help each other, because, for 20 years I've been bringing people together. Now to get to the other side, we are going to have to work together.
Absolutely. Support small business. I'm all for that, Naomi.
Yes.
Couple of questions for you. So first one is from Liam. Have you somehow pivoted towards online platforms and income opportunities during this time? And is it worth developing an online platform or just pushing through?
Liam, I don't know your particular business, but thank you for this question. So perfect. So the first thing we did was go back to our 2,000 small businesses that we represent and said, what could we produce? What could you do online? What could you have delivered? So the Red Balloon team produced an incredible range. I think there's about 120 experiences in our at-home range. And we produced that in minutes. I shouldn't say minutes. It's actually been 8 weeks that we've been in lockdown. But we produce that whole range, and that's everything. Just here's a little plug. Watch out for this one. For high tea at home for mum, delivered it on Sunday. You might be a bit late now because it's Thursday before, or a virtual activity to do together. So very happy to see what the team has produced in terms of the at-home range. And also that is therefore still providing income for those small businesses. JobKeeper has been very important for our community so that we know that they're going to be there on the other side. Equally, when you buy Rebel and Voucher, any of our vouchers, that provides forward bookings and momentum to our community, and knowing that that's there encourages them to come out of hibernation sooner rather than later. So yes, we did pivot. When it comes to should you be online, I would argue that every business now has some level of online presence. Even if you don't sell online, it might be that's where you store your testimonials, your case studies. It might be a referral site. There's different ways to use online, but there is no doubt that people will not be leaving their homes in the same sort of ways. Last week I went out to buy art supplies because that is an essential service as far as I'm concerned with my mental health. And I got to the store and it was closed. I literally wasted 2 hours of my life. And then I came back online and found exactly what I wanted. So that's the other thing. You know, people, when they're looking for something, you have to make it easy for them, really easy.
Yeah, you have to be easy to find.
Easy to find.
A question from Kian. You spent many years on Shark Tank, listening to entrepreneurs pitch business ideas. What sort of creative businesses do you expect to see emerging in this new economy to take advantage of new opportunities?
Oh, look, this is the thing. In a time of crisis, everyone's an innovator. And
Absolutely.
in fact, I'm getting more emails now. And TV Ratings, the website, wrote a whole article saying bring Shark Tank back, because that's, you know, right now that's what people want to see is Aussie innovation,
Absolutely.
Aussie ideas. And so, you know, I think that's kind of wonderful. The thing is, it's not just about the idea, it's about the person. And not everybody is made for an entrepreneurial journey. It can be lonely. I didn't know that this was going to be me for, you know, my whole 25 years. I've now been an entrepreneur. So the first thing is to establish whether you are built to be an entrepreneur and a founder. The other thing is there's a difference between being a business owner and an entrepreneur. And what we look for in Shark Tank is entrepreneur, because we want people who are going to drive growth, that whatever they have is going to do a job that people are prepared to pay for, versus necessarily having a nice small business. So when you look at investment, what is an investor looking for? They've got this thesis worked out. They know how and where their customers reside. And if they just had some more capital, they could scale it. Mm-hmm. That's what we do on Shark Tank. Versus if you've got a wonderful small business and make good money, that's fantastic. It's not an exit strategy. It's a growth strategy. And that's what we do on Shark Tank.
Awesome. What marketing strategies would you take in promoting your business in this time? So as you're not being seen to be too pushy or really trying to commercialise your offering, but still supporting your community?
So the first thing to ask in any marketing plan is, what job do I do for my customer and what relationship do they want to have with me? So if you are, let's say, in, I don't know, pipes or something, and somebody buys pipes once, they might not want to keep hearing from you because they only have a use for pipes once. So understanding this level of what we call the lifetime value or the lifetime opportunity that somebody has to deal with you is the preface for understanding a communication strategy. And that's the really first thing. What many marketers don't kind of realize is it's okay to be quiet. It's okay to not push. Right now, what do people want? They want to feel that you get them, that you have a sense of relatedness. Now, not everybody is doing it hard. There are those businesses that are in growth. There's those businesses that are standing still, and there's those businesses that are way behind. So again, it's not a one-size-fits-all strategy. What we're doing in this time, particularly in our B2B area, is just getting to know our customers better. understanding their business and what are likely to be the drivers for their growth on the other side. And pretty much all of our clients are saying, we're going to do some consumer engagement projects. We're going to run some competitions. We want to talk more. We want to get our sales channel going. So we're seeing more about that consumer activity in our B2B business. That's okay to take a pause.
Yeah, awesome. Is there anyone out there that you have seen doing amazing things with their social media apart from Red Balloon?
Oh, okay. Look, actually, one of my Shark Tank businesses, Inappropriate Gift, every time I see her, things come up, she just makes me laugh and giggle. And I do think that that's important in this time. So if we look at our mental health and, first of all, there's emotional resilience and how do we keep people safe? How do we be purposeful? But the other thing is just to have a laugh. And if there's one thing that we're doing is we're watching the stand-up comedy wherever we can. We want to support Australian comedians. We've got one of our experiences is actually a comedy experience. So anything that gives me a laugh right now, and the memes that are coming out are just hilarious.
Yeah,
I saw one with the dog on top of the kitchen cupboards going, no more walking. And my dog's exactly the same. I just love it. So I think, it's okay to have fun in business, and we often forget that. We're so serious when I know our businesses are actually, we're in the business of fun and enjoyment, but it is okay to have fun in business and to look at the light side.
So I'm just very mindful of time. So 2 final questions. Give us a little bit of an insight into what you're going to be doing on Sunday for Mother's Day.
Well, I guess it's going to be a surprise, isn't it? So one of the things that's so lovely out of this is we've made such a massive effort with our family. And, actually, especially with our extended family, we go basically from Christmas to birthday and not see each other. And all of our family live in Victoria and we live in New South Wales. So we have this whole schedule on a Sunday morning at 9:30. We Zoom with my parents, and then at 10 o'clock, all 4 of our kids come online together. We've got 1 in the US and 3 in Victoria, but 1's out on a farm. And actually, they weren't connecting really either because they're all off living their lives. And then half an hour later, we're with my husband's family and his siblings and parents. So we're actually far more connected to family than we've been in a very long time. And we have these lovely chats and talk about the news or what's going on the day. And so I suspect that that's what we'll do. But actually, with the kids at 10 o'clock, we're going to have cocktail making classes. So Stu, my gorgeous husband, does cocktails and whiskey tasting. We're like, it's Mother's Day, 10 a.m. cocktail time.
It's never too early. And final question, name one thing post-COVID that you'll never take for granted again.
Oh, getting on a plane. This morning, Stu and I were planning a trip to North Queensland, and we have always travelled in Australia. We took our kids everywhere in Australia before we went overseas. And I was just like, surely they've got flights available in July. I just desperately want to plan a trip to Queensland. I will never take for granted again being able to. And then we thought maybe we'll drive, and then we find out it's a 3-day drive. It's a 3-hour flight or a 3-day drive. So bring back those flights.
Open up those borders again.
Yes.
Naomi Simson, thank you so much for joining us today on our Fireside Chat. It's been incredibly enjoyable and insightful. Oh, and there's the dog.
And there's little Jackford, who's been such a good boy.
He has been a really good boy.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, Naomi. Take care and stay safe.
And remember Mother's Day. See you.
Yeah, bye.